right now seems like the prevailing attitude is that China is just getting stronger and stronger, and it's going to displace the United States as the global superpower. That's not the case on your view. So, what should countries be expecting will happen when and if China collapses? How do we prepare for that? And what does the world look like without China as this dominant superpower?
China is the world's largest manufacturing power. They excel at the low end and the assembly point. And one of those things that we miss in this United States is that when a product comes over from China and it shows up in our trade data, and we all get freaked out because it's such a big number, the Chinese are only responsible for maybe 20 to 25% of that. The final stages of assembly, more of the value add happens in the rest of East Asia, Japan, Taiwan, Korea, even Vietnam now. And so the reality of the trade relationship is it's not China, it's Asia. And that's both good and bad. Good in that if we can expand the industrial plant in the rest of the world, most notably in North America, which I think is a great idea, we should probably double it here. Then the China piece, when it breaks all away, isn't going to hurt nearly as much. And maybe we can integrate with those other East Asian economies in a way to soften the blow. If we fail to do that, then we're looking at the entire East Asian Rim system breaking, and that will have a far greater impact on us from a consumption point of view, because then none of the productive capacity will exist, and we will have to rebuild the entire supply chain rather than just one or two steps of it. So the solution is build, 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 build. Under the Biden administration, and this is going to give him more credit than he deserves, we, for the first time since World War II, had what we call industrial policy, where the government takes a step into to build out the industrial plant in certain sectors to achieve national interests. He focused on green technologies. He focused on tech, most notably chip manufacturing. And while I personally could disagree with how he did it in the sectors that he chose, the point is, for the first time in American history, you saw a surge in industrial construction spending. It tripled over his terms, and maybe 1/5 of that is directly credited to the federal government. Since Trump has come in, it's stalled. People are still finishing the projects that they started, but no one is starting anything new. And we need that number to go up as quickly as possible, as high as possible. Because instead of building out to prepare for a China-free future, we're now kind of stalled. And Trump's tariff policies are actually risking bringing the end of China forward before we're ready. So we are going to have a high inflation environment regardless. I would rather have high inflation from industrial production and growth than from a lack of product and us trying to build product when we don't even have the raw materials. So Trump, in my opinion, has put the cart before the horse and is whipping the horse until it dies. That's my biggest challenge. For the rest of the world, it's too late. A country with the United States' labor force and financial capacity has the option of building up this industrial plant. But for the most of the rest of the world, we really bitch in this country about the Chinese industrial expansion and how that has taken jobs and manufacturing capacity away from the United States. And it's not that that's a false story, but they went after the lower value added stuff that, to be perfectly blunt, we had grown beyond and can replace if we really think it's important. But in the developing world, it took everything. The United States manufactures products that no one else can do. We do the best. We're the most productive manufacturing force on the planet. Our workers are so productive that we outproduce the robots. The robots aren't sophisticated enough to take those jobs. But if you're in Brazil, the Chinese came in and set up joint ventures with all of the major Brazilian industrial conglomerates, stole all the technology, took it back home, and then drove every Brazilian industrial firm out of business. And so there is nothing left behind in most of the industrial world. And rebuilding that's a 20-year process. And we don't have 20 years.
What are these products that the United States is making that the world can't match?
We do all of the high-end semiconductor design and implementation. So just to give you one example of how it works, In the United States, you get a company that designs the semiconductor and then works with TSMC to build an instruction booklet on how to produce it, and then sets up the logistics so that all of the parts and all of the high purity components get to the right place at the right time. We basically manage the process from here, and that's the highest value add part of all. For automotive, we build the most high value added systems that go into it, whether that is the computer systems or the transmissions. In terms of infrastructure, that's a lot less sexy because most of it's not computerized. You're talking steel and concrete, to be perfectly blunt. That's something that anyone can do. It's like, I mean, infrastructure is important. I don't want to say it's not, but a road is a road is a road. There's a reason we don't have a good rail system here. We just don't have the population density to make it economically viable unless you're in the Northeast. But the U.S. economy is kind of funny in that we're bifurcated. We do the high end that no one else can do. We design the systems. We build the monitoring. We do the high-end computer and chip design. And then there's a gap. And then we do the low end because we're an agricultural economy and we have a lot of raw materials. So we grow the corn and the wheat and we process those into products, and we produce the oil and natural gas. And we turn that into chemicals. So we've got these two brackets, the high end and the low end. And then in between the middle ground, that is where we are weak. And to be perfectly blunt, that's where Mexico does really well. So the integration system we have here in North America really is amazing. We just need more.